Hi everybody, welcome to Archie Marathon. We're in beautiful sunny Vancouver in British Columbia, and this is the start of 3 days of wood adventure at Woodrise 2025.
Yeah, this is the last stop on our tour through BC, and for the last 10 days we've been all over the province and learning about mass timber and how it's grown and processed and used in buildings. And now we're at the conference to hear from the industry.
Roll intro. Oh, he suddenly got energy. First full day of Woodrise, second lecture. That was really interesting, wasn't it? Speakers from here in Vancouver, China, Amsterdam. What's really cool about Woodrise is we've got this little app here and people can speak in their own language.
Yeah, I was really trying to listen and practice my Mandarin listening.
How'd you go?
Maybe about 30%.
30%. I tell you what, the interpreters they've got are great. What it seems like is across the board, they're not just talking about how do we build out of wood, but linking it with our carbon problem and our housing problem. That discussion is inherently linked, and it's exciting to see that.
Similar but different approaches.
Yep.
Just seeing Vancouver giving developers extra heights, extra levels, it's quite interesting. And compared to Amsterdam, they're really talking about neighbourhoods.
There's this urgency and rush to try and build taller and taller wood buildings here, and there is a legitimate question of why. I don't like the height equals more housing argument, because it's just not true. There's been many studies on this. You can do 6 stories over a wider area with great in-between zones to create better quality housing.
Yeah, in our travels across BC, we've seen some pretty incredible innovations in tall buildings. There's this focus on using Canadian mass timber to reduce the amount of steel and concrete. So in a way, they're responding to sustainability and carbon crisis and the ability to prefab things, sequestering carbon and all those good things. But yeah, I agree. When it comes to housing, height can't be the only goal.
A little less time spent on legislating for height, a little bit more time legislating for urban outcome.
Neighbourhoods.
Neighbourhoods. Interesting chats, loving it. I want more. More. Lots of interesting stuff here in the hall. Everybody's got their little displays. One place we really liked, it's called Urbanarium, and it's a not-for-profit group that does a lot of research and thinking about housing futures. Little community-based organisation.
We just watched the Decoding Timber Towers presentation, a competition by Urbanarium. There's a focus in this competition for exactly what we've been saying. High density with lower carbon without losing community. Asking how we can deliver taller buildings more competitively while maintaining a high standard of comfort, sociability and connection to the land.
Yeah. And it seems very rigorous too. It's not an architectural competition of making crazy shapes. It's actually about deliverables as well.
Interesting solution, the flat pack on site and putting it and craning it up.
That's really clever. Flat pack in a factory, truck it onto site, then assemble it on the ground, then crane it into place. Some good ideas. We've gone out of our way for a long time to avoid the word biophilia, thinking it was a buzzword, knowing it's a buzzword. But what was made very clear is that it's useful in a couple of ways. Data. It provides architects with actual data to say these are the human outcomes. This is the reduction of cortisol. This is stress levels reducing when people work in environments that are full of natural materials.
Better productivity. Better sleep. Another point I found interesting that was discussed was designing buildings to look at end of life cycle, but not just end of life, but like how do you continue using all that timber?
Can you dismantle them?
Designed to be dismantled and to be able to be reused.
And again, we're talking a lot and hearing a lot about sequestering carbon. Well, that's just another way to make sure that carbon's locked in, even if the building's lost its function, that we can use it elsewhere in the built environment.
And I think it's great that all the architects, everyone's mentioned like it is a really expensive, valuable resource and should be respected, reminding us that Bauhaus was 100 years ago. And the challenges that they faced and what they were trying to look at, and the challenges that we should be thinking now is not just reappropriating concrete architecture by just shoving more timber in. Is actually thinking about how a whole different mindset and how to think about architecture through the use of wood.
Hearing the architects saying we need less vanity projects.
Yes.
Stop just building monuments to the self. But what is this for? Is this meant to be just the tallest building in the world to, I don't know, as an ego project? What is the actual value of that building? How do we use those resources well? And what is the benefit on humans? The workforce that's in that, are they performing better because they're happier? Is it in a healthcare scenario where your patients are recovering, or an education scenario where students feel much better in their environment? Gee, where's Kevin? This is the problem with having building blocks around and cubby houses. They don't expect children to turn up.
Andrew, what are you doing? I told you leave it alone.
We went to see the Exchange. That was the first time we saw the parallel strand lumber, PSL, which again looks like kind of giant layers of plywood, or like an OSB board, but actually layered. I didn't know how beautiful they are. Look at that.
Yes.
Look at that. It's crazy kind of grain just slapped together, but it's kind of wacky craziness. And then you cut that, you got that. Whoa! Oh my god. Whoa! Like here's like yeah, I get it, and like here's like crazy pattern.
Look at this. Water planes just coming in and out constantly. This is Vancouver rocks. What I find interesting about architecture is that it's just amazing how many brilliant architects are out there, and they're just diligently doing their thing, and they're not going out of their way to get published. They're just producing incredible work. And that session just showed how important the legacy is, the cutting edge experimental thinking that has happened here in Canada.
But more importantly, the engineers, Ebb, Structurecraft, Equilibrium, they're part of the design team. They're like part of the architecture. They push the architecture, if anything.
That's some of the best collaboration I've ever heard stories of. Structurecraft being also fabricators, like how agile and how much risk they took on just to go, somebody's got to do it.
Instead of people saying, no, can't do that, they go, watch us do it.
There are stories that some of us have where engineers are just like, nah, don't know why you do that, just do it this simple way, dumb way. And it just, the really chatty ones up there were so often the engineers saying, yes, let's go. What's really cool is seeing like just the raw enthusiasm from this older generation of engineers, and they still got it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is that collaboration and that enthusiasm, that sense of problem solving, creative problem solving, that has produced all this innovation.
Yeah. And I think that's very unique to British Columbia, having these amazing engineers, the legacy that's here.
We are at the Naturally Wood stand. We've been so lucky that we've been able to partner with Naturally Wood to see so much here in British Columbia, and to see their investment in not only the timber industry, but really thinking about the future of the timber industry, investing in mass timber and real innovation. It's been really exciting. So thanks to Naturally Wood and to everybody else we've met. It's been really inspiring. I think we've had a great time. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't touch
Are you okay?
me. Stop touching me.
Sorry. Oh, bye. I'll fix it.
Beer time.
Beer time.